But it's a shortcut and it's a way for you to get started understanding for yourself which scale to use. Right? My pick. Also, since I'm constantly improving, because we're all constantly improving, right? I learned what I'm going to say. Wait a second, because so if you don't know, I'm Tina. If you want to become a better guitar player, learn to improvise more fluently, understand advanced chord progressions and want to practice more effectively, start now by subscribing to this channel. Yay! Let's talk a little bit about the guitar and why it's so complex. So the guitar is a chromatic instrument. What does that even mean? It means it's not like the piano. If you have one at home or anywhere, check it out. If you're playing the white keys, you're going to hear a C major scale. But if you're playing each fret on one string like this, you're not hearing a major scale, but you're hearing a chromatic scale, and that's really the thing about the guitar. It's a chromatic instrument, and I'm going to show you how you can play a major scale on this chromatic instrument. So basically, each scale has its own DNA. The DNA of the scale is the order in which whole notes and half notes appear, right? So a half note in our Western music system sort of is the tiniest distance between two notes. They're actually even more shorter distances, but we don't use it in Western music, right? So how do you play it? It's very easy. Just go from one fret to the other. Anywhere on the guitar, in each direction. This is always going to be a half note step. And if you play two consecutive half note steps like this, just skip the note in the middle. That's a whole note step. And that's basically all that you need to know to construct a scale, that there are whole note steps and half note steps. And just to repeat it again, doesn't matter where you play on the guitar, from one fret to the next one, always a half note step and two frets in between, always a whole note step. So if you want to play a major scale, you have to learn the formula or the DNA of this scale. And the DNA of the major scale is like whole tone, half tone, whole tone, whole tone, half tone. You can start this formula on any note, wherever you like, right? So let's pick one note and just, we don't even care what the name of the note is. Start here. And then play whole note, half note, whole note, whole note, half note. Another place, whole note, half note, whole note. Check that out because it's actually fantastic, and this rule applies of course to any scale that you're playing. They all have different formulas for the order of whole notes and half steps, but you can all break them down to their DNA. If you really want to check out the guitar, learn the notes on the fretboard, you can take the chromatic scale and just check out the first note of the scale that you're playing. That's the root of the scale and that's the name of the scale. So if you're starting with a D, it's going to be a D major scale. If you want to make sure you're using the right names for the notes, because sometimes there's more than one option, check out the cycle of fifths. It's also a very good tool for checking out which keys are more closely related and which keys are not so closely related. So what has anything of this to do with chord families? A lot. right, because all those scales have the chords on the degrees that belong together. So let's go and play a G major scale on the low E string. Having a look at the cycle of fifths, I know the G scale has one sharp, it's the F going to the F sharp, so I'm playing G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Now I can play a chord that goes with each note, and I'm choosing the shell voicing. So G major 7, A minor 7, B minor 7, G major 7, D7, E minor 7, F sharp, minor 7, flat 5, G major. So all those chords and all those notes in the chords all stem from the G major scale. That's why they are family. So let's do the same thing with the D major scale. The D is really up high here on the E string. And that is sort of uncomfortable, so I suggest you practice the scales in a way that is appropriate to the guitar. So the lowest chord would be the E minor 7, right? And then F sharp minor 7. And another way is to use the shell voicing with the root on the A string. So we would play the D major here. So what I basically want to say is, don't let yourself be confined by the fretboard, always starting on the tonic, on the first degree. You can really try to start as low as possible and get up as high as possible, and just play those major scales or write them down and maybe learn them by heart, but it will help you so much with understanding jazz standards, because if a jazz standard is in one key, like Days of Wine and Roses, Take the A Train, so many of them are in one key, you can see much easier that which chords belong to which key. The good news is also, if the standard is in G, all those chords, you can play the G major scale. It will for sure sound out different over each chord, but it's a shortcut and it's a way for you to get started understanding for yourself which scale to use. And last but not least, those degrees of chords, if you put them in an order, you'll have progressions that are very common, like 2, 5, 1. So if you're going back to the G major scale or to the chords of the G major scale, we play the 2 chord on the 2nd degree and the 5 chord on the 5th degree, and then the 1 chord. There's your 2, 5, 1, right? So you could also play 2, and instead of playing the D7 up here, playing the voicing on the A string with the root on the A string. So try to write down all the 12 major scales and the chords, practice them on the fretboard and say out the names G major, A minor, B minor 7, and make that a part of your practice routine. And I also made like a PDF that's already ready. Can you believe it? It has like 8 pages. And you can download it, and in the next video I'm going to show you how you can, by understanding this, understand secondary dominants, because secondary dominants are really like the first step of not having all the notes from one key. But first start with those chords, try to practice them every day, get the PDF and analyze some jazz standards with the knowledge that you now have. Leave the other chords by the side way. We'll be talking about them as well, but I think this is a really good starting point. So, see you around. Don't forget to practice, and I see you. Bye.